What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. This, of course, is going to be an episode of the Trust the Bank podcast. Myself and Joshua, we try and do these every week. We couldn't get one out last week. Thanksgiving week was a little bit tough to get the timing to work out. But this week, we are back. If you don't know, we ask questions for you guys. You guys talk, mention things, and we talk about them. And we have to start off. I was telling Joshua, man, I had a good day at work today. I had a good day. I get home, I'm like, oh man, we're recording. I'm excited. And I hop on and see, okay, what are the questions that we got? And I see all these things. And this was something that I had mentioned it on a live stream because I am a Stanford football fan and they fired their coach. And I hated David Shaw. I did not want him in Stanford. And I was like, this is great news. And I jokingly was like, I also read an article on potential suitors. And they had like Deion Sanders. It had some guys that I really liked. Also had Greg Roman. And I mentioned that. I was like, yeah, it also had Greg Roman. I thought that was funny. So look at the community page and I look at this post and I see like people saying like, what about Greg Roman getting offers from college football teams? And what about Greg Roman and Stanford? And I thought, oh, they're just talking about what I said on the live stream. And then I'm like, wait a minute, too many people are asking this question. I need to hop on Twitter real quick. And I see that Greg Roman has been in contact and communicating with Stanford football to potentially become and fill their head coach vacancy. And John Harbaugh even said, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I'm like, okay, I want Greg Roman gone more than probably anyone else in the world. But of course, the way he would go would be to my other favorite sports team. Maybe I would probably argue I'm more invested in Stanford football than I am in the Baltimore Ravens. So this is the worst case scenario for me. Like Greg Roman's gone and it's great potentially, but also he goes to my other team and it's like, oh my goodness. But Joshua, do you think Greg Roman would take a college job?
First, before I even answer that question, McConnell, when I first saw it on Twitter, man, I just said, man, I'm feeling for my brother right now, man. I know he's gonna feel some type of way about it, man. I mean, I feel the same way, when the Ravens lose, the Lakers lose on the same damn day. So I get it, man. I get it. But do I think Gregory Roman will take him and his vote to a college football team? I don't know why a D1 team will reach out to him, but yeah, I actually do see him actually going to a college team for a head coaching position for that opportunity. People will always give him his credit. Hell, even Peyton Manning gave him his credit. Let's call him, maybe arguably one of the best running game specialists right now in this era. I mean, no one is topping that. Can't take that away from him. But as an offensive coordinator whole, he just ain't been cutting it on the NFL level. He has some success, yes, but he has a limit. He taps out, literally. We have seen that. We are the third team. He's tapping out. He doesn't have any more ideas. He talks about a vote. It's really that vote not really been opening up like that. So I don't see Gregory Roman getting a head coaching job in the NFL. So the next best thing for him is college or either high school.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I would hate it if Greg Roman went to Stanford. I would be so mad. But at the same time, like, he'd probably be pretty good, and it would be really annoying because, I think the best example is Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly is revolutionized college football, unbelievable coach at Oregon. I mean, really created just the crazy high power, just get track stars out there, no huddle, go, go, go offense in college football that now we see out of, not maybe to the extent, but, the Big 12 has really taken a liking to it. We've seen a lot of teams really do it. I mean, even like the best teams in the country, like they're going fast. They're trying to put up points. The defense is non-existent anymore because they were, let's play as fast as possible, but also have a good running game, but just not use it till we need to slow the game down. They always had good backs, guys like LeGarrette Blount. His last name ended in James. I can't remember what his first name was, but he ended up playing for the 49ers in the Super Bowl against the Ravens. I think he actually scored a touchdown against the Ravens.
I can't think of
drawing the blank. But I hated him. He was really good. He was really annoying. I went to a Stanford game against Oregon, and he ran for like 250 yards and like 4 touchdowns, it felt like. But Greg Roman's scheme, one, he used to coach at Stanford. So for the people that are like, why would Stanford reach out to him? He coached under Jim Harbaugh at Stanford in 2009 to 2010 season. And that was the 2010 season was, in my opinion, the best Stanford team of all time. That was Andrew Luck. That was Tyler Gaffney. Very good run game, good pass game. Shout out to Doug Baldwin. He was on that team as well. But really good football team. And those Stanford teams, they had Andrew Luck. And I think everybody remembers Andrew Luck. They did not throw the football. That's why Andrew Luck lost to RG3 in the Heisman voting, was because Andrew Luck had like terrible stats. It was like, wow, great completion percentage. Like, he's obviously extremely talented, but it was like, RG3 threw for like 50 more touchdowns than him. It felt like, ran for way more. But Andrew Luck just went out there and just dominated behind a very strong running game. And Greg Roman led that. And Stanford was able to win consistently by just grinding opponents into the ground. And this is a very rare opportunity for me to be able to talk about my 2 favorite teams and it makes sense. So Greg Roman going back there, it could work because college is very different from the NFL. You don't need crazy passing schemes. Watch any college football team, any of them. It could be, lower level. It could be Jackson State, who's a very good football team. They're undefeated. Shout out to them. Or it could be, University of Georgia. It could be Alabama, Ohio State, whatever. It could be Stanford. When they're throwing the ball, those receivers are open. Like the cornerback play in college, the defense in college is not very good. You watch the games, they're getting run all over. Potentially the Heisman winner, Blake Corum for Michigan, was out for most of the game against Ohio State. And the backup running back just ran right over it because defense just isn't set up to handle it. And Greg Roman is a great play designer with the run game. College could actually be an unbelievable spot for him. Right? Like same way in Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban, I don't think would be a very good NFL coach. He wasn't a very good NFL coach. The reason why he's so good in college is because, the egos are less and he's able to mold these guys and it works perfectly. Very different style to Greg Roman. I'm not saying Greg Roman would be the Nick Saban of college football. That's not the point I'm trying to make, but he could go there like Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was terrible. He was one of the worst coaches I've ever seen at the NFL level, because he tried to do exactly what he did in college. Then he went back to college football, coaching at UCLA right now. UCLA is a great team. And they're well coached because Chip Kelly's system works at that stage. Greg Roman's system, I believe, probably works in college football. And if he went to Stanford, as much as every bone in my body hates it, I think it would actually be a really good move for Stanford and a really good move for Greg Roman and a great move for the Ravens. So it's a win-win-win.
So, but McConnell, you also got to put in perspective too, with a high power running game in Greg Roman's offense, he has a star player. Right now, on the offensive side of the ball, who is your star player at Stanford?
Mr. E.J. Smith.
There it is. He can mess around and really plot the vault and run the Wildcat. Who knows?
Oh, absolutely. And it would just and he could do so many things with it, and he could try things out, right? He could bring in the pro style quarterbacks and he could try and run like that run game system like he did with Luck. Or he could try and start bringing in just crazy athletes, guy like Lamar Jackson coming out of high school was not a polished quarterback, but he could bring in players like Lamar that are just, okay, yeah, this guy wants to be a quarterback. He can throw the ball. I like his mechanics, but also he can go there and be like, hey, you're a mobile quarterback. I know a lot of other schools, they're saying, hey, yeah, you should play wide receiver. You're a mobile quarterback. You know who I coached? You know who won the MVP under me in the NFL? Lamar Jackson. He's misconstruing that data by saying that because Lamar carried him. But young players would want to play with Greg Roman, I think, young quarterbacks, because they're going to be like, wow, man, this guy coached Lamar. This guy coached Kaepernick, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
3 probably top 5 mobile quarterbacks in terms of just how that, maybe not. I think Cap and Lamar are probably top 5 in the last 20 years in terms of mobile quarterbacks. And being able to run the read option and things like that. And he coached both of them at the NFL level. I would love to go play for him. So, unlike, now he may not get wide receivers. it'll be like Stanford back in 2010. Like, they don't have wide receivers. Like, they run the ball, but they would have great tight ends, which, again, what does Greg Roman do? Tight ends, offensive line, run the football. Like, low-key, he could build a great freaking program over at Stanford if he ended up going. I actually think it would be, like, again, I would hate it.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have so much success there. And then, here's the problem, Joshua. Let's say Greg Roman goes to Stanford, does very well. Oh my gosh, John Harbaugh let go of Greg Roman. Look how good he's doing at Stanford.
I'll take that.
Like, he's so good.
I'll live with it.
We hired this other guy. He's not even doing very good at the NFL level. Stanford's putting up 35 points a game in college. But, you know, it's just like, I just thought it was hilarious that Greg Roman, of course would go potentially to the one school. I mean, there's nothing, he's not accepted it or anything like that, but like John Harbaugh's mentioned it in the press conference.
Yeah.
News sources are saying, you know, that he's done there. He used to coach there. Again, in what I think is probably the best season Stanford has ever had. And just in case, it just says 2009, 2010. I'll look up 2009 Stanford as well. I think that was Toby Gerhardt, which was Andrew Luck's first year. So it could be the 2009 season. I just know it's 2009, 2010. And sometimes they put on like the stats stuff, they say 2009 was this. Is this, did they lose to Cal? They lost to Cal Stanford. Yeah. So they lost to Cal. This was Toby Gerhardt's year, final year. And I'm pretty sure Toby Gerhardt, this might have been his Heisman year. Yeah. Toby Gerhardt, college football, 383 attempts, 1,871 yards, and 28 touchdowns.
Damn.
In the closest, fun fact, the closest ever Heisman race to Mark Ingram. Another Ravens legend. But he went out there and he dominated that year. And, you know, it was one of the best rushing seasons, you know, Stanford has ever had. It was dominant, and they went behind that. And that was Luck's rookie year. Luck wasn't that great his freshman year. He actually lost the game against Cal. He threw a pick. I was really pissed. Watching that at my dad's wedding. That's all I remember from that wedding, was getting pissed at this no-name freshman named Andrew. Like, I was like, this guy sucks. Lost the game. Ruined me.
Man.
But, like, so whether it's 2009 or 2010, I think is the best Stanford team of all time. 2009 was a Heisman candidate year, runner-up for Toby Gerhardt, running for 1,800 yards and 28 touchdowns. He would do well at Stanford. He would do very well, and I think this would be a good thing for Greg Roman to do. And he'd probably do it at the end of the year, but he could accept it this year, like during the season, and say, okay, because his contract is up after this year.
Thank goodness.
What if it was a bidding war? What if Greg Roman says, whoever pays me more?
You know what? I will hope the Ravens would not outbid. I hope they would just, you know, lay down like a dying dog. I don't have nothing against animals. I'm just saying, you know, we've been always fighting to get a player or put the money, or we put out a contract out there. I will hope Stanford just roll out the red carpet for him and just say, hey, come on, man. Come on. You know, you want to be a head coach. Just come on, man. And, you know, and everybody in the Ravens flock, Ravens Nation, wherever you are, just push him to the West Coast and keep him there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's someone that, like, it's okay if he leaves. And again, I would love for him to leave this year, but him leaving at the end of this year to go to Stanford would, I think, be a win-win-win, and lose for McConnell. That's the only person. Like, I don't know how many Stanford Ravens fans there are, but that would hurt.